Salvage and sanctuary. The recycling trawlers always smelled like burnt circuitry and broken dreams. Lyra Voss had gotten used to it over her 8 years on Ceres Station, the faint ionization of the air, the metallic tang that coated the back of her throat after a 12-hour shift sifting through other people's discards. Today's haul was particularly dismal: 3 damaged cargo pods, a communications array with a spiderweb of cracks running through its main processor, and something that might have once been a high-end entertainment console before someone had taken a plasma torch to it. Dregs and drabs, she muttered, sorting components into bins while her scanner hummed. Nothing but dregs and drabs. Her wrist terminal chirped with the familiar tone of her supervisor. Lyra sighed and pressed accept. Voss, you signed out trawler 4 this morning. Foreman Hadley's face appeared, perpetually creased with suspicion. You're 36 minutes over your allotted salvage time. Found an anomaly in Sector 12, she lied, knowing the massive field of floating debris would buy her time. Thought it might be military grade. Had to check the protocols. And glorified NAV beacon. Bringing it in now. Hadley's eyes narrowed. Don't get creative out there, boss. The station gets first dibs on anything valuable, not your private collection. Wouldn't dream of it, sir, Lyra said, her face carefully neutral even as her fingers tapped a sequence on the secondary console, routing her actual find, a damaged but potentially reparable med scanner, to her private dock. Just being thorough. After Hadley disconnected, Lyra settled back into the pilot's seat of the trawler, fatigue seeping into her bones. 8 years of sifting through other people's garbage, hoping to find treasures the station's automated systems missed. 8 years of skimming just enough to make her tiny apartment feel less like a cell and more like a home. Risky work, but it kept her fed and occasionally entertained. The proximity alert chimed, a low urgent sound that had Lyra bolting upright. Something large had drifted into her scanner range, something that definitely hadn't been there during her initial sweep. Computer, identify object at bearing 043 Mark 12. Object unidentified. Configuration does not match database parameters. Lyra frowned. Material composition. Unknown alloy. Warning, energy signature detected. Now that was interesting. Debris didn't generally emit energy unless it was an engine core about to go critical, but the readings showed a steady pulse, not the erratic surge of failing equipment. Approach vector, minimal thrust. Let's see what we're dealing with. The trawler edged forward, powerful spotlights cutting through the void to illuminate a sleek triangular vessel, or what remained of one. The craft had been sheared nearly in half, its hull shimmering with an opalescent quality Lyra had never seen before. It wasn't human technology, nor was it Centaurian or any of the other trading species that frequented the system. Well, she whispered, that's new. Station protocol dictated immediate reporting of unknown vessels, especially non-human technology. The reward would be substantial. The paperwork would be endless. And anything truly valuable would disappear into the station director's private collection or be shipped off to Earth's Xenotech division, never to be seen again. Lyra tapped her fingers against the console, calculating. Computer, any distress signals from the vessel? Negative. However, biometric readings indicate a life form present. Her heart skipped. Alive? Affirmative. Life signs unstable but present. Lyra bit her lip. Salvage was one thing. Rescue was entirely different, especially when it involved non-human entities. The smart play would be to call it in, collect her finder's fee, and let station security handle the rest. Instead, she guided the trawler alongside the wreckage and initiated docking procedures. Just going to take a look, she told herself. If it's dangerous, I'll back off and call it in. Simple. The docking clamps engaged with a metallic thunk that resonated through the trawler's hull. Lyra sealed her environmental suit, checked her oxygen levels, and grabbed a portable scanner and emergency med kit. The airlock cycled open, revealing the jagged tear in the alien vessel's side. The interior glowed with soft blue light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. The architecture was strange, no sharp angles or obvious control panels, just flowing curves and surfaces that reminded Lyra of frozen water. The air was breathable according to her suit's readings, but she kept her helmet on as she moved deeper into the craft. "Hello?" she called, feeling somewhat foolish. "Anyone here need help?" No response except the soft hum of damaged systems. Lyra followed her scanner's life sign readings toward what appeared to be the cockpit, a hemispherical chamber with a single pilot seat that looked more grown than manufactured. Strapped into the seat was a humanoid figure. Not human, though. Definitely not human. The being had a slender frame with elongated limbs that bent at slightly different angles than human joints would allow. Its skin was a silvery blue with faint luminescent patterns that pulsed intermittently beneath the surface. Where a human would have hair, this being had what looked like fine crystalline filaments that caught the light in prismatic flashes. Most striking were the ears, long, tapered structures that extended upward past the hairline, currently flattened against the being's skull in what Lyra instinctively read as pain or distress. The alien's eyes were closed, but as Lyra approached, they fluttered open, revealing irises that shifted from deep violet to electric blue, with no visible pupils. Those strange eyes fixed on Lyra with unmistakable intelligence. "I'm here to help," Lyra said slowly, holding up empty hands. "Are you hurt?" The being struggled to sit upright, wincing visibly. When it spoke, the voice was melodic but rasping, with an accent Lyra couldn't place. "This vessel is compromised. I am also compromised." "English? You speak English?" Lyra's surprise made her voice sharper than intended. "Language acquisition is standard for Draconian scouts." The being gestured to its leg, where Lyra now noticed a strange device partially embedded in the silvery flesh. The device was cracked, leaking a phosphorescent fluid. "Neural translator, damaged in impact." "Okay. Okay." Lyra moved closer, scanner extended. "I'm Lyra. I'm going to scan you, see what's wrong." "That all right?" The being, the Draconian, inclined its head slightly. "I am designated Nyx. 3rd Wing Scout, 7th Fleet." The scanner revealed multiple injuries, fractures to the bone-like structures in the left leg, internal bleeding of a fluid that wasn't quite blood, and most concerning, damage to an implant at the base of the skull that seemed integrated with the nervous system. "You're in rough shape," Lyra said, reaching for her med kit. "I've got some basic supplies, but we need to get you proper medical attention." "No." The word was sharp, urgent. "No station. No authorities." Lyra paused. "Why not?" "You're injured." Nyx's luminescent patterns flickered rapidly. Stress or fear, Lyra guessed. "I am defective. Flawed. The collective determined I should be decommissioned." Lyra's brow furrowed. "Decommissioned? What does that mean?" "Terminated. Recycled. I am inefficient." Nyx's long fingers moved to the damaged implant. "Neural lattice malfunction. I question directives. Calculate alternative outcomes. This is unacceptable." A chill ran through Lyra. "Your people tried to kill you because you think independently. Efficiency requires consensus. I disrupt the pattern." Nyx's breathing grew labored. "Escape pod, navigation compromised. Impact, unexpected. Will you report me?" The question hung in the recycled air between them. Station regulations were clear, unknown aliens were to be reported immediately. Harboring one, especially one from a potentially hostile species, could mean imprisonment, or worse. But looking at Nyx, seeing the fear beneath the alien calm, Lyra made her decision. "No," she said firmly. "I won't report you. But we need to move fast. Can you walk?" Nyx attempted to stand, only to collapse back into the seat with a sound that might have been a suppressed cry. Locomotion, impaired. Right. Then I'll have to carry you. Lyra adjusted her suit's exoskeleton settings to maximum lift assist. My trawler's just outside. We'll get you to my quarters, figure out our next move from there. Why? Nix asked, those strange eyes studying Lyra with a mixture of confusion and wariness. Why assist a defective unit? Lyra carefully lifted the alien, surprised by how light they were despite being nearly as tall as herself. Because where I come from, we don't throw people away just because they're different. And sometimes the best parts are the ones nobody else wanted. She carried Nix through the shattered hull of the scout ship, aware she was breaking at least 17 station regulations. If caught, she'd lose her salvage license, maybe face detention. But as the alien's arms cautiously wrapped around her shoulders for support, Lyra couldn't bring herself to care. My personal quarters aren't much, she warned as they approached her trawler. But they're off the main grid, minimal surveillance, good privacy screens. We can hide you there until you're stronger. Hide until when? Nix asked, voice weakening. They will send retrievers. Standard protocol for escaped units. Lyra secured Nix in the trawler's small medical berth before sliding into the pilot's seat. Then we'll deal with that when it comes. One problem at a time. As she guided the trawler away from the wreckage, Lyra sent the smallest ping to the only person on Ceres station she truly trusted. For words that would either save them or condemn them both, need help. Bringing guest. The answer came back immediately, workshop ready. No questions. Emmett had never let her down before. She just hoped his tolerance for the unusual extended to injured aliens with a possible death squad on their trail. Behind her, Nix had fallen into unconsciousness, the luminescent patterns beneath their skin pulsing weaker now. Lyra pushed the trawler's engines harder, racing against time and whatever was coming for them both. Sometimes, she reflected, the most valuable salvage was the kind you never planned to find. Echoes and Exodus. Emmett Pascal's workshop was a testament to controlled chaos. Every surface held some half-finished invention, every shelf sagged with salvaged components labeled in his indecipherable shorthand. The air smelled of solder, synthetic coffee, and the faint ozone tang of electricity. It was the perfect place to hide an injured alien, if you could find space among the clutter. You brought an actual extraterrestrial to my workshop, Emmett said for perhaps the 5th time, pacing a narrow path between workbenches. His weathered face was fixed in an expression somewhere between horror and fascination. An actual alien. From actual space. As opposed to figurative space. Lyra replied, adjusting the makeshift biomonitor she'd rigged to track Nix's vital signs. The Draconian lay unconscious on Emmett's reinforced worktable, breathing shallow but steady. And keep your voice down. I don't know how good their hearing is. Emmett ran fingers through his shock of gray hair. Do you have any idea what you've done? If station security finds out. They won't, Lyra said firmly. Not unless you tell them. I should. By all regulatory protocols, I absolutely should. But even as he spoke, Emmett was already examining the damaged neural implant at the base of Nix's skull with the careful precision that had made him Ceres Station's most sought-after, if eccentric, engineer. This technology, it's incredible. Biomechanical integration at the cellular level. I've never seen anything like it. Can you fix it? Emmett's laugh was short and sharp. Fix it? I barely understand it. This would be like asking someone from the Stone Age to repair a quantum computer. But you'll try. He sighed, already reaching for his micro-tools. Of course I'll try. I'm not turning away the most fascinating engineering challenge of my career. He paused, expression sobering. But Lyra, you need to understand what you've started here. If this Nix is telling the truth, if their people really are looking for them, we could be bringing down trouble on all of us. I know. Lyra leaned against a workbench, suddenly exhausted. But you didn't see them, Em. They were going to be decommissioned for thinking differently. What kind of species does that to their own? The efficient kind, came a weak voice from the table. Lyra whirled to find Nyx awake, those strange color-shifting eyes taking in the workshop with rapid, precise movements. "Hey there," she said, moving closer. "How are you feeling?" "Functional," Nyx replied, then seemed to reconsider. "No. That is incorrect. Suboptimal but, alive." Emmett approached cautiously, microscanner in hand. "May I?" he asked, gesturing to the implant. Nyx studied him with unnerving intensity before nodding once. "You are a technician?" "Engineer, inventor, occasional genius," Emmett replied, beginning his scan. "Depends who you ask and what day of the week it is." "I have alarmed you," Nyx observed. "This was not my intention." "Well, it's not every day an alien crash lands in our debris field," Emmett muttered. "Especially one with a target on their back." Nyx's ears flattened slightly, what Lyra was beginning to recognize as a sign of distress. "The retrieval protocols will already be initiated. Standard procedure following unit malfunction or unauthorized deviation." "Meaning what, exactly?" Lyra asked. "A recovery vessel. Small, efficient. One purpose only, to confirm termination or complete it." Emmett's hand stilled over the scanner. "They'll come here? To Ceres?" "If they traced my escape trajectory, yes. The collective does not leave incomplete tasks." Lyra and Emmett exchanged glances. Ceres Station wasn't exactly a military installation, it was a mining and recycling outpost, with minimal security forces focused mainly on preventing theft and maintaining order among the station's 10,000 inhabitants. "How long?" Lyra asked. Nyx's patterns pulsed beneath their skin. 3 standard cycles. Perhaps 4 days, Emmett translated. "We have 3 or 4 days. Then we need a plan," Lyra said. "Can you sit up?" With effort, Nyx maneuvered to a sitting position. The movement seemed to cause pain, but the Draconian's face remained carefully controlled. "Your assistance," Nyx said slowly, "is difficult to process. You gain nothing. Risk significant consequences." "It's called compassion," Lyra replied. "Maybe your people should try it sometime." "Compassion," Nyx repeated the word as if tasting it. "An inefficient allocation of resources. And yet here you are," Emmett pointed out, "alive because of it." He set down his scanner. "Your neural implant is badly damaged. I might be able to stabilize it, but I can't fully repair it without understanding the base technology better." "Stabilization would be sufficient," Nyx said. "Complete repair would likely restore my connection to the collective. That would be undesirable." Emmett raised an eyebrow. "You don't want to go back? Even if we could fix everything?" "I cannot." For the first time, emotion colored Nyx's voice, a mix of resignation and something almost like pride. "My divergence is fundamental. I calculate multiple solutions where the collective sees only one. I question directives that should not be questioned. I feel. And that's why they wanted to decommission you?" Lyra asked, anger rising in her chest. "Yes. Individual variance threatens collective efficiency." Nyx's gaze dropped to their hands. "I was to be studied, then erased. But I chose differently." "Good for you," Emmett said gruffly. "Now let's make sure that choice sticks." He turned to Lyra. "We need to hide them somewhere secure while I work on that implant. Your quarters aren't safe enough, too many neighbors, too many surveillance nodes." "What about sublevel storage?" Lyra suggested. "I've got access to a decommissioned maintenance bay in Section 12. It's officially condemned after that coolant leak last year, no cameras, minimal foot traffic." "Good thinking." Emmett began gathering tools and components. "But that's only temporary. If these retrievers are coming, we need a more permanent solution. I should leave, Nick said quietly. Your station is not prepared for draconian retrieval protocols. And go where? Lyra challenged. You can barely stand. There's the Freehaven colonies, Emmett said thoughtfully. Out past Jupiter's orbit. Bunch of independence-minded settlers, minimal oversight from Earth authorities. They might take in a refugee, even an alien one. That's over 2 weeks' travel, Lyra pointed out. And we'd need a ship. I might know a guy who knows a guy, Emmett said with a small shrug. But first things first, we need to stabilize that implant and get Nick somewhere safe. Then we figure out how to deal with these retrievers. Later, in the abandoned maintenance bay, Lyra watched as Emmett worked on Nix's neural implant with painstaking precision. The space was cold and dimly lit, with only emergency power providing illumination. Pipes leaked condensation overhead, and the distant rumble of the station's recycling systems created a constant baseline of noise, perfect for masking their presence. There, Emmett said finally, closing the access port at the base of Nix's skull. Not pretty, but it should stabilize your neural functions and prevent further degradation. Nix's patterns flashed briefly before settling into a steadier rhythm. The dissonance has lessened. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Emmett packed away his tools. We still need to get you off this station before your friends arrive to finish what they started. Lyra's wrist terminal chimed, a priority alert from station security. Speaking of which, she said grimly, reading the message. Unidentified vessel just entered Ceres space. Not responding to hails. Station security's on alert. That was fast, Emmett muttered. They are efficient, Nick said simply. Lyra paced the small space. They'll scan the station. How do they track you? Through that implant? Partially. The implant contains identification markers. Also biometric signature, my cellular patterns are unique. But if they think you're dead? Emmett said slowly. Nix tilted their head. Retrieval units do not return without confirmation. Then we give them confirmation, Lyra said. Just not the kind they're expecting. Over the next 8 hours, as the station buzzed with rumors about the mysterious vessel maintaining position just beyond docking range, Lyra and Emmett put their plan into motion. Emmett reprogrammed one of his sensor buoys to emit a falsified biometric signature matching Nix's degrading patterns. Lyra retrieved a damaged escape pod from her private salvage cache, technically illegal, but she'd never been one for perfect regulatory compliance. This should work, Emmett said, calibrating the final settings on the buoy. We load this into the escape pod, launch it toward that debris field in Sector 12, and detonate it remotely. The retrieval unit will detect your biometric signature, followed by its sudden termination. They will investigate the debris, Nix cautioned. That's why we're using actual wreckage, Lyra explained. The pod's transponder is registered to a freighter that disappeared 3 years ago. The debris field is full of similar fragments. By the time they sift through it all, we'll be long gone. Nix's ears perked slightly. Lyra exchanged a glance with Emmett. I'm coming with you to Freehaven, she said. I can't exactly stay here after stealing an escape pod and violating about a dozen security protocols. I'm staying, Emmett said firmly. Someone needs to cover your tracks, and I've got enough goodwill built up with station security to deflect suspicion. Besides, he added with a wry smile, my joints are too old for frontier living. Your plan is impressive, Nix admitted. But risky. All the best ones are, Lyra replied. They launched the decoy at 0300 station time, when most of the surveillance systems were running automated protocols with minimal human oversight. The escape pod arced gracefully away from the station, its trajectory calculated to make it appear damaged rather than deliberately piloted. When it reached the debris field, Emmett triggered the detonation sequence. The small explosion wouldn't register as weapons fire, just a faulty power cell rupturing in the vacuum of space. For 3 tense hours, they watched the retrieval vessel's movements from Emmett's secured terminal. It maintained position briefly, then moved toward the debris field with methodical precision. "They're taking the bait," Emmett whispered. "Now comes the hard part." Getting Nix to the secondary docking bay required timing, creativity, and one food service cart borrowed without permission from the station cafeteria. Lyra pushed the cart through maintenance corridors, heart pounding each time they passed another station worker. But Nix remained perfectly still beneath the false bottom, and their luck held. The ship waiting for them was hardly impressive, a small transport vessel with patched hull plates and an engine that had seen better days. But the pilot, a weathered woman named Tessa who owed Emmett for some undisclosed favor, asked no questions when Lyra arrived with her unusual cargo. "Freehaven's a 10-day burn," Tessa said gruffly. "Hope your friend doesn't get space sick." As the transport disengaged from Ceres Station, Lyra watched through the viewport as the station grew smaller, the retrieval vessel still hovering near the debris field like a predator searching for traces of its prey. "Will they give up?" she asked Nix, who sat beside her, still weak but steadier now. "Eventually. Draconians do not waste resources on confirmed terminations." Nix's patterns shifted in what Lyra was beginning to recognize as contemplation. "Your friend risked much for someone he did not know." "That's Emmett," Lyra said with a smile. "Always had a soft spot for strays and lost causes." "And you?" Nix turned those strange, beautiful eyes toward her. "You abandoned your life for me." "Why?" Lyra considered the question seriously. "Maybe I was ready for a change. Maybe I believe everyone deserves a chance to be more than what others decided they should be." She shrugged. "Or maybe I just don't like bullies, even alien ones." Inefficient reasoning, Nix observed, but there was something new in their voice, a warmth that hadn't been there before. "Probably," Lyra admitted. "But sometimes the most valuable things are the ones that serve no practical purpose." As the transport accelerated toward the outer system, leaving Ceres and its hunters behind, Lyra thought about efficiency and purpose, about broken things and new beginnings. She had no idea what waited for them at Freehaven, or if Nix would find acceptance among the human colonists there, but for the first time in years, the uncertainty felt like possibility rather than risk. "Your civilization is strange," Nix said softly. "Chaotic. Unpredictable. Guilty as charged. Yet you create connections. Build communities. Protect those who cannot protect themselves." The Draconian's patterns pulsed in a rhythm Lyra hadn't seen before. "Perhaps this is its own form of efficiency." "Maybe," Lyra said, watching as the stars streaked past the viewport. "Or maybe we're all just making it up as we go along, trying to be better than we were yesterday." Nix considered this, head tilted in that now familiar gesture of contemplation. "I would like to learn this skill. Making things up as you go. Being better than yesterday." Lyra smiled and offered her hand, a gesture Nix had initially found confusing but now recognized. The Draconian's cool fingers intertwined with hers, and for a moment, the distance between their species seemed less vast than the space between stars. "I think," Lyra said, "that's something we can figure out together." Behind them, Ceres Station faded to a distant point of light, and ahead lay the frontier, unknown, uncharted, and full of possibilities neither of them could yet imagine.